Good. So StreamYard is telling me I've gone live. Oh, excellent. And even Facebook is now behaving. Let's turn the sound off on that. Pops that over there so I can see what's going on. And then let's just wait for the clock to tick forward. I see, and get rid of my glasses because that's always a good move, I think. It's always a good move, isn't it? Yeah. Cool. I think I've got everything. I'll make a change, won't it? Oh. Well, that would be helpful. Yeah. Always good to forget anything. That's because I've changed my mind. Good evening, Jill. How are you? Hello, Josephine. Hi, Sheila. Sorry, I've just kicked a whole mountain of stuff flying across the room, which is always a good look. Not. There we are. We'll just wait for things to tip through to. Let's use that one. So, hi, Jan. Good evening. I hope everyone is well. So here's a sort of sneaky peek at where we're going. But we'll just have a little bit of a... I didn't think everyone wanted me to be painting everything all from scratch. So I did a little bit of prep, but I'm going to show you that I did everything. But I won't actually start until it's 5 o'clock. Oh, sorry if I frightened anyone. 6 o'clock. And the computer is telling me that it is now 6. So that's cool. Let's wait and see if anyone else wants to join. Good evening, Caroline. Good evening, Liz. So I've started out with an entirely different plan for the background of this piece, and then decided at the last minute I was going to change what I was doing. And for a change, I'm going to have no crackle in my piece this evening. I know, that's really not me. Good evening, Anthony. Thank you for joining us this evening. So let's just move these pieces that I painted so I was sure where I was going with my colours out the way, because as you can see, there was quite a lot that was going to need painting if I left it all to the last minute. So I was initially going to use the one component crackle for the top of this frame, but I've changed my mind because that's a girl's prerogative, isn't it? So this is an old Stamperia paper. I know it's on the wonk, but it's a collage paste, so it won't matter. And by the time I've added in things, actually it's not going to matter that it's only part of a piece, because I've got another plan for the bottom of here. Good evening, Liz. I hope I said good evening to you, Anthony. Forgive me if I didn't. So I am using the decoupage glue, and which is ultra matte, and that is a glue and a varnish, so it will allow me to seal my papers in. And horror of horrors, again, I am not using any antiquing paste on this tonight. I know. What has the world come to? I must be losing the plot, I hear you say. But there you are. So there we are. So we're going to make an autumn inspired piece because, well, it's my favourite time of the year, and I I really like it. So there we are. So I've just put glue on half of here, and that's fine. I just need to lift that up a little bit because I want to get rid of that. And now I can pop this out and get rid of the wrinkles. I'll make sure I've got that down. I will come back over that. So if I now feed that back down there and pop. Hi Selena, welcome. Welcome. So I've had a busy few weeks. I was away at Carfest 3 weekends ago, helping a friend. I then, what did I do next? Well, there's a brain gone dead. Oh, I know what. I went to the Painters Business Academy where I met a lot of very lovely people and learnt some new techniques. And then I've been out in the beautiful Emerald Isle. So I'm going to start from the centre and then brush out, because that's a good way of avoiding crinkles and things. And I've clearly chopped this out. It was a big A3 rice paper. So I'm just going to add a layer of glue over the top of it and spread it out. I tend to keep all of my my strokes when I'm gluing either vertical or horizontal. I don't tend to mix them up because I think if it just gives you a nicer finish. So this is a milky medium when it first goes on, but will dry completely clear and will protect my piece at the same time. So I'm just going to make sure that I do cover it all properly. It's a good habit, I think, actually, to do a layer, let it dry, and then do another layer. Thank you, Caroline. It is a beautiful paper. I think you might have a little hunt to find something similar, but there are lots of gorgeous rice papers, and this is just a very neutral one for a background. It might be worth checking out Dali Art Market for it. It's a Stamperia paper, one of the old ones, and I think she's probably, she's still got lots of the bigger A3 ones in stock, as Stamperia discontinued them a while ago, which is always, anyway, as companies will want to do, really, aren't they? That's just part of life. So that can go there, that can go there, that's all covered, that can go in there. And then we're going to give this a little bit of dry because we need to. Oh, there it is. You always struggle when you can't find that. So let's just give this a nice dry. Good evening, Blanche. Welcome. I hope that all is well in Mexico. I don't know about the rest of the UK, but we had in Manchester, which is of course known for being extremely wet, we had rain, and just for good measure, a bit more rain last night. And my conservatory roof has sprung a leak. So that's not good, is it? It was only a little puddle this morning, but it wasn't quite the surprise I wanted to wait to this morning. I was hoping it was just the amount of rain rather than something fundamentally wrong, but we'll see. So I'm sorry about the noise of drying, but you just have to do it, don't you? And I want to get another layer onto here before I move on to mould painting. Oh no, crafting in the rain. No, not a good look. Not a good look, crafting in the rain. And we all know it gets very noisy in my craft room when it's raining with the noise on the conservatory, but rain falling down on me. There's just one bit. It's the apex of the roof. Good evening, Anna. Thank you for joining me. Good evening, Vesperina. Thank you for joining me this evening. It's lovely to see everyone. Yeah. You can tag your friends if you know of anyone who might be interested. It's always good to share the love of crafting with our friends and things. I know that 6 o'clock in the UK is often family meal times, but for Europe, of course, it's 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening. So that's that's a little bit later on in the evening. than it might be. There we are, we'll get there, we'll get there. You see, but watching paint dry, it's just a joy, isn't it? You know, just a joy. But it's a necessary part of crafting, I think, is letting, you either have to let stuff dry naturally, or you have to be prepared to stand there with the heat gun and get the surfaces dry beforehand. So there we are. Good evening, Julie. Yeah, no, the roof is not a good move for being wet. There's an apex, and it's done it before, but hasn't done it for a good few years now. So I think it's probably just the quantity of the rain last night and the direction. We had horrendous rain all night last night. Absolutely horrendous rain, but hey ho. We just need to let this dry, or at least some of it dry. Otherwise, I'll put my sticky mitts in it and then lift the paper. So it's really important, ladies, when you're using rice papers, that you glue it down with as few wrinkles as possible, and that you make sure it's properly protected. And the decoupage glues from Pentacolor will do just that, which is always a good thing. It's also, if you're going to be adding antiquing paste of any description, then my strong recommendation is that you add a layer of your decoupage medium, you let it dry, and then you add a second layer. I'm not going to do that tonight for speed purposes, but I did put a very generous layer onto here to make sure I have got everything covered, and I'm not intending slathering anything oily over the top of it. The only distressing I'm going to be doing is actually on my moulded pieces, so hopefully you won't have a problem. I just need to get these edges properly dry. And then I can sand that off. If you try doing it beforehand, you will, before it's properly dry, then you just rip your paper, which isn't a good look at all. So we can pop that one out of the way. So I won't be needing the decoupage glue. There's lots of choices of decoupage glue from Pentacolor. There's the Ultra Matte, which is part of the Decosoft range. There is an ordinary matte, a glossy, a glitter, a ceramic, and a textile. So pick the one that you want for the effect or for the medium that you're using. Yeah, I know about the thunderstorms from Sunday night. Why would I know about the thunderstorms from Sunday night? Because thanks courtesy of that lovely Ryanair, every flipping flight coming back from Ireland to the UK was delayed. And you know what it's like, don't you? Once one's delayed, it helter-skelters, and every one of them's delayed, which is also not good. So don't be tempted to scrabble up and down when you're using the sandpaper. Again, that will encourage things to lift, and you're more likely to damage things. An angle of about 45 degrees doesn't need to be measured, but it will just make your life much easier, and repeated strokes will get there. I'm just using an emery board because that's what I had to hand. My time in Ireland was lovely. The class that I was teaching with Pentacolor products went very well, which is always a good thing. I think there's lots of positive comments on Facebook, so I think people liked it, which is also always a good thing. was moderately stressful, but don't very often share my private life in Facebook. I landed in Ireland on Friday to a message from my phone from my daughter as it swapped to the Irish network to say the paramedics want to know what's Dad's medical history. It's never a good conversation, is it? Yeah. Not, hi Mum, have you landed safely? Mum, the paramedics want to know what Dad's medical history is. And given he dropped me at the airport less than 3 hours before, was slightly preserving. Might have some craft questions for me. That's absolutely fine. Marty, you go ahead. Anyway, thankfully he is getting better, though he is still in hospital. But hey ho, I'll take that from where he was on that. And then he settled down and behaved himself. So yeah. There we go. Let's just thanks. Have we got a biscuit of choice tonight, Martin? It's always lovely to have biscuits. There we are. Craft questions are good, aren't they? It saves me wittering about things that maybe you're not interested in. So please feel free to ask craft-related questions. It's always good because if you don't know the answer already, then it's highly likely there are others who don't know the answer. Hi, Gail. Thank you, Jan. He's getting there. He's getting there. Right. So, because I've made sure the edges of that were dry, I've managed to get that off without too great a problem. And that big, no biscuits tonight, Martin. That's very good. Very good. Let me just add a bit more dry to this. At least the image is coming through. Yeah. So Pentacolor for this month asked us to use stone paste and the decor paint chalkies. So it's not the only set of products I'm using, but it's certainly some of them. Now if I do that, I should be safe now to do the next bit. So that is my piece of rice paper, and the bits that are milky still will go clear over time. Let me find something long. Long and thin would be better. There we are. So this is stone paste. I'm just going to give it a good stir because it's separated a little bit. And the intention is that this is going to make, in effect, a ground. So let's just shovel that on. And don't anyone say what they think it looks like, because that really wouldn't be on. There we are. So the stone paste come in various different guises and textures. So this is the brown granite one, and it's a bit like the structure paste, but in the sense that it's got a grit to it. But I'm thinking it might just as well act as soil, because I'm going to create myself a little pumpkin patch. Well, that's the plan anyway. And once I've got this on, I can then start doing the next bit. The joy of things. So has anyone spotted the fact that Pentacolor have some new products coming out? Because they do. There we are. So this I can add some texture to, like a random little hold. There we are. There we are. Cool. So that can go there. I would be killed if I let the cat out the bag at the moment. But I can tell you that they're launching in about a week's time. There's lots of new products this time, and I will be doing a live in English. Ugh, look at my hands. Just as they launch. So watch this space and I can then reveal all. Right, so for the sake of answering, this is now going to the ground floor level. So, right. So, there we are. So we are going to create pumpkin like this. And yes, it is shiny. Yes, it does have some distressing on it. And some leaves. There's lots of different shaped leaves. And a little squirrel. So let's tackle one at a time because there's going to be enough drying as it is. So let's take that, pop that out of the way of the brushes, and let's see what we've got lurking. So I'm going to start with, I'm going to use, hi Gail, hi Angela. To start with, I'm going to use acrylic paint in terracotta stroke yellow red, which I think gives actually a more orange tone than you might think. But I didn't want a bright, vibrant orange. Nice molds. Whose are these? These are the latest IOD molds, Julie. And I can use them on this live because there is nothing like it in the Stamperia range. So that's the request from Pentar, is that if Stamperia do something equivalent, then we use the Stamperia papers and molds, but they don't really have an autumn range, and so I'm allowed to pick and choose what I want, which is cool, definitely cool. So yeah, they're beautiful. There's I love it. Autumn is my favourite time of year, it has to be said, and so when I saw these, I knew I had to get them. So there we are. The moulds are huge as well. I hadn't really appreciated just how big they are. You get a lot of shapes on them. So even if you think they might be expensive, actually, when you consider the size, they're so not. There we are. Thank you, Laurie. There we are. It's not always easy, is it? You know, Facebook is full of lives, full of all sorts, isn't it? And lives all over the place. It's just not possible to see for everything, and that's just fine. Yeah, it's just part of life, isn't it? There are some little twists on there. You can see them, but I know I've just painted over them, but it's not going to matter by the time I have finished the whole piece. It'll work just fine. These are cast with my usual fast cast resin, Illuminite, and I primed them before the live with bonding primer, which works on non-absorbent surfaces beautifully, but it's definitely a medium where you're better off to add thin, 2 thin coats, and also definitely the top layer is best left to dry naturally. But again, like all things, it's not a hard and fast rule, and I did heat dry these, my layers, because I knew what I was going to be doing with them. So that can now sit there. We'll pop that out there. We might need that to touch up. And I've put the paint on thicker in some areas intentionally. Now, I know I have a plate because let's just pop that up on there, out of harm's way. So this is the Pentacolor paint chalky in chestnut brown. And we won't need very much, but it's a bit paler than the colour that I really want. Good evening, Joan. Good evening, Angela. Good evening, Katrina. I hope I haven't missed anyone. Thank you, Martin. I think you've just tagged a few people. And this is the black. So I'm going to custom colour. I just want it a little bit darker for the bulk of my squirrel, which is a cheap mould. And I can't even tell people where that came from because I really don't know. Did I want it quite so dark? Maybe not. You really don't. These paints are incredibly highly pigmented. It really doesn't take much black to add in. There we are. That's better. So that's given me sort of like a nice chocolate. Now I've got a paintbrush that is so full of paint. I need to get rid of quite a lot of that. There we are. So this is just a squirrel, because why not? Why not? I'm going to use a different colour for the tail because I want it to be deliberately paler. There we are. And then we might have some dry brushing, though the idea of doing that when the king of dry brushing is watching is interesting, but there you are. We're not going to be anatomically too precise. I will add in the eye details because it will look weird if we don't, but I'll do that after I've got the rest of it done with a paint pen, because it's going to be easier. So that's given that cover, so that can go in there. Let's just give this use a little bit of a wash. And I'm going to pop that to the side. I'm going to run out of space in a minute. You can see it happening, can't? Well, I can see it happening, that's for sure. Let's just wipe that before it goes every which way. That can, no, I won't stand that, and I won't put that over there. I'll pop that down there. And then we can do the first layer of our leaves. So she says throwing them on the floor, because why don't you? Why don't you? There we are. And then don't stand on your project that you've put on the floor, because that really wouldn't be very good at all. Oh dear, Faith, that's not good. That's not good. So this is Decor Paint Chalky in the colour Thorn. There we are. Which is a very lovely colour. And this is Decor Paint Chalky in yellowish green. So there we are. Put that over there. Take that and pop that there. These paints have been open quite a while and they're quite thick, but that's also not a problem. Let's just use that brush. It's going to be easier than getting another one out. Here we are. So as I say, these are already primed with bonding primer, which if you're only going to have one primer in the house, then one that will work on all surfaces would be my suggestion. and the ones that we have, all the one for the surface you use most and then compromise for the other surfaces. I use lots of resin pieces, so for me it was quite important to have the bonding primer. So I don't want a flat colour of leaf, and we're going to add some, you know, some distressing and some other bits, but we're just going to mix it up a little bit, and I do that by colour mixing on my pieces more than anything else, simply because it was easier to do. A lot of these leaves had stalks on them, but for my piece I've chopped them off. I just took a pair of scissors, even though the resin was cured, and lopped them off. So don't forget that if you're using a mould, just because it comes with something doesn't mean you need to use the whole of it. I think it's quite easy to forget that we can and, you know, adapt molds to suit ourselves. So I'm hoping that just by adding, yeah, you see, on it just show, doesn't it, that, you know, we've got to, you know, changing the colours just slightly, and that way each piece is going to be slightly different. And I think that's, again, a nice thing to be able to do. I might have to give the pumpkin a bit of a dry in a minute, but that's okay, because if I try to get up and do the next piece. So we have to go to Formby to see the red squirrels, but there's a big red squirrel colony there, so that's always lovely. And it's a lovely beach you can walk along at the same time, which is also always a nice thing to do, isn't it? This is exactly why I pop my paints out onto a palette, because I'm mixing the two here. If I was just dipping in and out of my main paint pots, of course I'd be contaminating one. You've got black ones there, okay. Well, do black ones really exist? Thought they were standard brown ones, but maybe I'm wrong. Animal following is definitely not my thing. I do know that we do have the beautiful red squirrels though, and that they're in an endangered species. Oh yeah, because the dark ones have basically are bullies and have pushed them out. So there we are. Okay. See, mucky mitts. Okay, I'll take your word for it. So let me just give some of this a little bit of a waft dry, because I want to add, obviously, green to my leaves of my pumpkin, but also some extra bits to my squirrel as well. So let's just lift that up, but I don't want to contaminate my colours. There. Thank you, Joan. Yeah. I know we can visit Formby because there's a national beach there, isn't there? Makes life easy. Sorry about my Facebook thingy. Anthony, what have you messaged me about? Let me just shut that down. Hopefully that will not then offend anything. There we are, and that will stop my computer binging at us. If I don't dry these, then what will happen is, if I try to add my extra layers. Thank you very much, darling. I've now remembered to close Facebook down on my computer, so it won't bing anymore. There's a reasonable number of comments coming through, Faith. Not massive of them, my darling. Are you worried that you're not seeing things? Because it's not always predictable, I think, as to what comes through and what doesn't come through. I'm joking, I'm going to make a paintbrush out of the head. Possibly. When I was away at the Painters Academy at the weekend, I was told that I needed to get a badger brush. A badger? Yeah, a badger hair brush for flipping badgers. I can't remember what it was for. That was fat good, but I remember we were told that we should have a badger hair brush. I think it was sort of blending because it's so soft. And they cost a flipping fortune. So guess what? One of those won't be appearing in my crafty stash, or not at any time soon. Good evening, Sabine. I trust you're well in is it the Netherlands? Norway, I think, isn't it? I think it is. Here we are. Always get confused. Doesn't take much for my simple brain to be confused. The problem with drying like this is that you surface dry, you move away because you think it's dry, and then of course what happens is it wets again, it becomes wet again. The red are the native one, and that's why it's such a pity, isn't it, that we've lost a lot of them. I've got some boar hair brushes, Anthony. They're really nice and stiff. They're fabulous for applying. That'll be antique paste and oil paints with. Right, so I can see that on my. Let's just move some of these around a little bit. So on my pumpkin, the colour is not completely even. So I'm just going to retrieve a paintbrush and add some more of this terracotta paint to it, just to even out the colour before I start adding extra layers, because I do want an even colour at least before I start. And actually the layers will add a little bit of texture to the piece anyway, which is good. So there we are. It's always good to, and if a project, something's worth doing, I'd rather do it properly and not compromise by just saying, well, not on a live, you'd add an extra layer for the extra time it's going to take. We can do it. We can do it. Okay. We want a quality project, and I need it to match the ones I did earlier. Otherwise, the whole project's going to look very, very iffy mucky. So that's not good. There we are. Okay. Okay. So let's pop that over there. That over there. Relid that. So as I said, I wanted a different colour for my badger. So I am using Decor Paint Chalky and Mandel, which is a browny grey colour, iffy mucky. Yeah, iffy mucky. Just doesn't look quite right. So I'm just going to add these, and I'm going to add quite a lot of dry brushing to this, so we'll lighten it up a little bit anyway. So that's the plan. There we are. And we're going to add some of this to the stalk from the pumpkin anyway. So there we are. Hi B, what did you miss? I've added some rice paper to the top of an A4 canvas with Decoupage Ultra Matte, which is a glue and a varnish. And I have then added some stone, dried that, and then added some stone paste to its surface. Well, for the area that wasn't covered and disguise the break. You'll see that in a minute because I will need to get it up anyway. You see, did I want to do that? Did I? Heck? There we are. See, I'm determined to get covered up that piece of the. There we are. Okay, so those can go over there. Where's the lid to the mandel? Let's just give some of this another goodly waft dry. Because we are going to need them all, guys. Hi Sarah, good evening. Yeah. I've got some patches of my squirrel that I'm not happy with, so let's just tint them up a little bit. And if it's going to be a slightly different shade of brown, that doesn't actually matter, does it? Because it will all add to the final appearance and mean that the bunny, the squirrel isn't just one flat colour, which is also cool. We just need to get these dry, I'm afraid, because yeah, we'll get one. Okay. So let us just paint in our leaves. If I go silent, it'll be because I'm concentrating. In which case, I apologise. No need to be sorry at all, Alison. We all have lives. Yeah, life is busy and full, isn't it? We can't do everything. It's simply not possible to always do everything all of the time. So even if we might like to. So I'm just going to use the flat of my brush carefully to pick up these swirls. There we are. There we are. So this is just about a steady hand and patience and not stressing too greatly, because actually what will happen is the more you stress, the more you'll shake. But also by adding the Surgel, I'm going to cover up a lot of the areas in the nooks and the crannies, and then I'm going to add some wax, so a lot of it won't be such a problem by the time we've ultimately finished. Which is also a good move. I think we like things that are easy, achievable, and don't cause lots of upset, because you know, life's too short, isn't it? What we're doing is meant to be enjoyable, not necessarily stressful. Let's get down into that nooking and cranny. There we are. We'll add a little bit of the yellow in a minute, or the yellowish green in a minute. There we are. So when I started this project, I painted the big pumpkin so that the little pumpkin could, so I could see how it would all come, all of the colours would come together. That's the top of the pumpkin, so there we are. We'll just add, there we are. Just add a little bit of this, just to change it up a little bit, because leaves aren't all one flat colour, are they? So there we are, that's the intention. We'll just add a little bit of shading in. Yeah, okay, let's just brush out the marks. There we are. Cool. I know what I did. I also, when I was doing this, caught my tops of my pumpkin, and then I did into the texture. Again, because the colours in a piece are, in the leaves, are usually also found in the body of the fruit. And there's another stalk that I've missed. So there we are, or another tendril, isn't it, that's there? And there's another one there. There we are. So this is just adding some extra detail in, and it's catching on the layers of my paint, but just subtly changing the colour and the depth of, or the perception of depth, by darkening around the edges using that green that's left on my brush. So that can go there, that can go there, that can go there. Oops, she says. Right, 1, 2. Don't worry about the bit of orange in that. All that, and then that can go there out of harm's way. So let's just give these a good blitz dry, because that's what I need next, for them all to be dry. Because so far every medium that I've used has been completely matte, and my finished piece is definitely shiny. Oh, there it is, and I am going to use Pentacolor 3D varnish to make the pieces shiny. This Samperior Fluid Gloss will work, but this one is my choice. It's slightly thicker and dries very quickly. It will give you dimension and depth, so and dries quicker than glossy accents. You could use pouring glaze for it as well. That would also work. And I happen to know that Leonie has the 3D varnish in her shop at the moment. I don't know where else might have it in the UK, I'm afraid. But happened to see a Facebook advert from Leonie showing that it was there. So yeah. I try adding a varnish onto these where they're still wet. Of course, I'm going to disturb the paint, so that's why I'm being careful at this stage. Now, my recommendation is that you don't use your best brush for this, because it is, after all, going to be a varnish. Don't want something completely manky either. Oh, that one will do nicely. Excuse me. So you can see it's nice and thick and it holds its shape, but I'm going to just brush it out into a thin layer on the piece, and I can transfer the excess over onto the next bit. And again, I don't want to have big globs of it, because big globs are going to get, hide the texture that's in the piece that the ladies who made the molds have carefully put in to help show all of the details. So let's just put a blob of that there. But these steps just actually are so worth it in terms of protecting your piece and making it a durable piece long term. It's quite a while since I've actually done this step on a live. I've had a lot of lives where I've deliberately left things matte and haven't varnished, but because I'm going to be adding some gels on top to distress these, I felt that they should be properly protected before I did that. And I can see that I've got some slightly wet paint on that one, because I've lifted it into, and I can see that I've lifted it, but that's okay. We'll worry about that. So let's just thin out that glue and add that into here. Give Mr. Squirrel a good cover. You see, that wasn't quite what we wanted to do, was it? I did say I didn't think I'd got that completely dry, but never mind. There we are. We'll clean that brush, take off that excess, give that a brush, keep it. There we are. We won't have squirrel with green tail, because I'm not too sure that that's the look I would want for the squirrel. There we are. Okay, that looks reasonably dry. No, B, this is not an outdoor proof varnish. I don't actually think Pentart have one that is completely waterproof. I would get personally would get a dedicated waterproof varnish, but for indoor stuff it'll survive in the bathroom. There is a ceramic decoupage glue that you can use to cover stuff that you might want to put in a dishwasher, that you then bake to set, and that works very well. But again, I'm not sure that I would use it necessarily for putting out in a garden. It's not what I tend to do with my art pieces, I have to say, but I get that you might want to. So I would suggest that the ceramic one that you can, that you heat set, if your piece is heat settable, will work quite nicely and will probably cope with being outside for you. Because if it will cope with a dishwasher, well, being washed, then it should be reasonably waterproof, I would suggest. See, way too much on here, but hey ho. Let's just brush it out. There we are. Get rid of the excess. This, but by varnishing, you're protecting it from rubbing and from knocks. It just, helps just as an extra sealant, doesn't it? As much as anything else in the piece particularly if a piece is going to be handled. Clearly put way too much on there, so let me just pop that out. Otherwise, we'll have thick layers of. It'll add texture, but it might not be. And I'm deliberately doing these down because that sort of, if it does give me some texture, it's going to mimic the shapes of the texture that you might find on a natural pumpkin anyway, if that sort of makes sense. There we are. Cool, so that can go in there. No sirens going off here, darling, so I don't know what it is. Answer to your question is the 3D varnish water-based, which forms three-dimensional and waterproof shapes after drying. Protects from frost. That would suggest that you might be able to put it outside, B. Say it pays attention to look at your instructions on it. Never tried it, but it does say, oh no, it says protect from frost, so don't put it outside. Or if you're going to put it outside, don't freeze it. But that was, so maybe you can if it's just wet, but not in the cold. Might be the best thing for that one. So let's just pop that over there to dry. It's not quite dry enough for me to do what I want to do next. My Lord, look at it. Yeah. But I will, for the sake of being completely safe, I'll have a little hunt. I'll talk to the guys at Pentart, and if they say that it is waterproof, then I will let you know. It can go outside, I'll let you know. So that is the eye. That now needs to dry. And I don't very often look after my brushes, but that is a brand new, tiny, you can see how tiny that bristle is. So that one is going to be looked after. Otherwise, I shall be very unhappy when I make a mess of it. And I want my mop brush. There we are. So I've got a mop brush here. And I'm just going to pop that into there. Hi, Elizabeth. and take off a lot of that, and then try not to disturb too much of my white paint. In the eye. So I like a mop brush for dry brushing because it's so soft. You can be very, very gentle with what you're doing. There we are. And I can add, and I've got almost no paint on my brush at all. You're better off having very little and building up your layers bit by bit by bit. There we are. I think that probably looks reasonably like a squirrel's tail now. There we are. All right, B, take care. There we are. Okay. I will need that for dry brushing later on. I don't want it to get soggy, so I'm going to be naughty and do that. And then, because I'm not that good, I'm just going to add, I've just got a black marker pen here. Cheapest Chicks Inkline pen, so I can add a little bit for the eye. So Alison, those are, most of these are Stamperia brushes. What I would say is that it's worth investing in reasonably good ones. So if you can get the Stamperia ones, they're good. Otherwise, any well-known art brand ones will work for you. I've got a stash that I bought a while ago, so which makes life easier for me. Let's just see. Hello, Jadranka. I think that's probably how I say it. I'm sorry if I've murdered it. So these are dry, reasonably dry. Let me just give them a quick lick. So let us take this, pop that over there. So I am going to distress and wax my leaves. Okay. And I have some antiquing gels. But I didn't want brown and I didn't want ochre. So the joy of products is that you shouldn't be afraid of them, and you can custom colour for yourself. So that's, to take what you have and make your products work for you. So that's the ochre. So I've used the brown and the ochre antiquing gels here. And I am just going to scrabble them together. So I've got a paler tone. Well, darker than the brown, but darker than the ochre, but not as dark as the brown itself. And because I've varnished these, I can then start to lift some of this colour, which is good. I'm sorry that the skies have decided to open, because that's just typical. Just typical. And now I can take a dry cloth and I can just rub back and take off what I don't want. There we are. Cool. I just think that this is a water-friendly, water-based medium with no odour. And whilst you can get lots of different colours of oil paints, and antique paste for distressing, the fact that these are water-based and have no smell, I think is a huge advantage. And of course, it means cleanup requires nothing special, which is also, to my mind, a huge advantage. So I'm not being overly aggressive with this, but the varnish protects it and allows me to leave it. So we've gone from that to that. We're not, I don't know what time is, ladies, but we're getting there. We've got some assembly to do, but hey ho, not masses. Not masses indeed. I think it's difficult, isn't it, when you're doing, I don't know, when you're planning a live, it's, you think, right, I've got plenty of time, but then actually you have to work out what is achievable in a realistic time frame, because our attention spans don't allow us to watch for hours and hours and hours and actually take things in, and and I never make a whole project. I know where I'm going with the project every time I do a live. I never come to it unprepped, but knowing exactly how long something's going to take is another matter. But I'd say that's 7:05. Okay, so we're going to be probably about an hour and a half by the time we've finished, which isn't so terrible. I don't think. Let's just check that that one still needs a bit of a dry. So let's just give this a waft. I'm not going for a lipophone. Once this is and has had its distressing medium added to even out the colours and add some depth and variety to it, we've got waxes and assembly. But we might just leave that there on those. No, it's still too wet in the depths of there. We're not going to be forever. Don't believe that we should be forever. Let's get those dry whilst we're at it. So the antiquing gels are permanent once they're dry, ladies. So it's always good to know, isn't it? Right. And then I wanted a soft greeny brown for the pumpkin to bring things together. And so I've chosen Oak, the Surgel, which is a greeny grey brown for this, rather than might add a bit of that brown in with it, just for good measure. There we are. Why not? Sorry if that's made you all go completely seasick. There we are. So we'll mix our colours up, change our colours of things, add some extra layering and details onto it. There we are. And make sure when you're doing this that you do get into all the nooks and the crannies, because the areas that you haven't added it to long term will shine out like a bleacher beacon as being different to the rest. So it's definitely worth doing. There we are. That can go onto there. That can go onto there. Let's grab that, and then we can wipe back a lot of this. And then our pumpkin looks like it's been sitting out in the pumpkin patch, as opposed to having been washed and put out to dry. There we are. So it just adds that extra layer, and that can dry. So whilst that's drying, so I have chosen turtle green and honey gold. There we are. Can't beat a bit of brown. It has its place. It has its place. So we're just going to add little bits. I'm going to deliberately mix them on my pieces. There we are. I'll just add some shimmer, some extra colour. I'm all about layering and not having everything identical. There we are. Minimal brown today, Anthony. Minimal. It's very easy to overgo that honey gold. I love it, but it's quite a strong colour. But it does work very well for autumnal leaves, it has to be said. There we are. Good. Let's lid that. Clear the decks. Hey. Works very nicely. Oil likes it. Now then, let us investigate the stone paste, because that'll be the next headache, because that won't be dry. Let's just give this a wash. There we are. Now it's just as well I sort of know where I'm going with this, isn't it? She says, because some of that won't be completely dry. Let's grab some heavy body gel. Yeah, I've even treated myself to a new pot. So this is the matte heavy body gel, ladies. And remember, in spite of what anyone else might tell you, this dries opaque. So be careful. Otherwise, you will have a mess at the end of your project. And that's maybe not what you want. I don't want that one. I don't want this one. So I'm just going to pop a generous layer of that onto there. See, this was the first bit to go down. And because this is going on, it's going to allow me to just have a little bit of wriggle time and movement. So that piece is going to sit there. I did an about adding a stenciled word to this piece, and then decided that I didn't really want to. So I know that looks like a lot, but hey ho, because that's going to sit there into there. So I'm going to pop that onto there. We're going to pop that into there, so it's half on and half off. We're going to pop our little squirrel tucked in to there. We're just going to pop that there, and I'm going to lift that extra gel medium now with a brush and get it out of the way. Some of this I can cover anyway. So what I'm doing is building and trying to disguise my edges a little bit, because to my mind the pumpkins are in a field, aren't they? They're rather than sitting. There we are. So there's going to go into there. So let's just pop that one into there, into there, into there. And that's fine, because I know that I need to lift all of this, and this is why I will say to you, just take I've got a damp-ish brush, and I can now lift off the extra I don't want into these pieces. Okay. So I know that I want to pop him under there like that. So let me just add some gel medium to here. Thank you. Okay, so that's going to sit, comes up. It just lifts everything. Okay. Okay, cool. We are getting there. See, I like it when a plan comes together. It's always good, isn't it, when a plan comes together? And the gel medium, you see, the joy of this gel medium is that I can move stuff about. So I don't want that like that. I'm going to shuffle that a little bit more, and it's going to sit into that glue, and that piece can sit into there. On top of that, okay, I have some plans for the rest of it to hide some of these areas. So that can sit tilted up, that's in there. There we are. There we are. Oops, she says slopping stuff around, but never mind. That can go there. And this piece can have a good slob of that and can sit on top like that. Excellent. Right, let us just clear up all of this extra that I can see. Because if I can see it now, I know it'll irritate me when it's all dry. Now, some of it's not going to be a problem because of my next step. I've got one step to go, ladies, okay? There we are. So, oh, there we are. Did I put that into there or did I put that into there? I had it in somewhere. I think I'm going to pop you onto there. Well, that was clever, wasn't it? There we are. Might as well use all the pieces you've got because it makes much more sense to do so. There we are. Okay. So we've got some holes and we've got some areas that I think just need a little bit of filling and to add a little bit more texture. So I have done some preparing. So I think most of you will have seen me using these quite a lot. They're the 3D balls, aka art stones. And if you try and spray them with any of the mists, they're really absorbent and they don't colour brilliantly well. And if you, thank you, Faith, if you try painting them during a live, then it's Nightmare City because they all move every which way when you're doing it. I'm going to give this paste just a little bit more of a dry. So what I discovered, and this is another, let me just pop that on the floor for a few minutes while I just talk you through this, is that if I use these things, which are called Dekoratőr gels, thank you ladies, then and all I need to do, this is just liquid stains, is I could add the colour and let them dry out. Yeah, level 2 drying's being used a lot. So here I've got walnut, chestnut, and the yellow is pine. That's all I need to do then, is just mix it all in and instant coloured. And I left some of them to dry for obvious reasons. And I can custom mix my colours to my heart's content. But it means that I have custom coloured, so I think it just looks a bit more natural than the white ones do. Yeah, level 2 drying's a godsend, that has to be said. I use it a lot. There we are. So I will have to be moderately careful. Now, left to myself and not on a live, what I would do is let the stone paste completely dry and maybe add some dry brushing to that stone paste. But because we're in the middle of a live, that's not very practical. So I'm good. That's what we don't want to happen. There we are. So this is just a PVA glue. So I'm going to link some of these areas where I've got it joined. It will just help to disguise some of these areas a little bit, as if the pieces are in the pumpkin patch, if that makes sense. So that's the intention, is that we're just going to add some little bits. See, he's looking currently a bit suspended in there, but if I add some little bits of stonery, if that's such a word, to it, then it'll help pull things together. There we are. Because no patch that I know has everything all in one place. So I'm just going to do a little bit of sprinkle. These pieces, you know, anything that I don't want, I can knock off. The glue will dry clear, and it will help to, and I can carry on fussing post live quite happily and add some more bits and pieces of art stones as I want to. But you can see how these bits are dry, so that's going to be quite easy, isn't it? And because I've coloured them, I've not got everything, you know, as a single colour. So that was the plan. So those bits are wet, whereas those are reasonably dry. She says, yeah, she's getting mucky, sticky, yucky fingers. Now some of this lot will fall off ultimately, and that's fine. I'm not going to actively disturb it tonight. I'm going to let these settle down, but I just want to cover where I've got the glue reasonably, because again it will make life easier for me long term. I might just take a brush and get rid of some of the extra bits, but there we are. So I think that like the Lasur gel there really helps, and it also I've no idea that they're definitely some form of, they're very light, porous material, which stirring to pentart acrylic paint composes a mixture which can be applied as a paste. There we are. So it doesn't tell me what it is, but it is very porous, I have to say, and I like using it. So I've now got, I am going to see if I can gently tap off some of it without the whole lot going helter-skelter. There we are. So I'm going to leave that there. I hope that has been a useful activity for people, that you've enjoyed watching me create, that hopefully you've learned something along the way and that you're inspired to make. So I'm going to leave this to completely dry. The only thing I know that I definitely want to do is add some dry brushing to this ground area once it's properly dry. So take care, ladies. Be safe in whatever you are going to be doing for the rest of the evening. And don't forget, if you do make something, please tag me so I can see what you're up to. And please will you follow me on my Facebook page? That would be much appreciated. Or on my Instagram as the Crafty Surgeon. So that's all for tonight, ladies. Take care. Bye.